Welcome to Real Talk with Glen and Mike, the show that gives you real, raw, and unfiltered conversations with your favorite African thought leaders and trendsetters.
Waking up and get the money, man.
All right, hello. You know, this is a show, Real Talk with Mike and Glen, and today we have an amazing and interesting guest. He doesn't need an introduction. You guys already know him. The moment you saw him on the screen, you know that's DJ Stavo. But because this is an interview, I am going to try and just give you a brief on who DJ Stavo is in a couple of words. Because as you know, this is raw, unfiltered, straight conversations with trailblazers in Africa. And today we decided to bring DJ Stavo to you because we want you to see we're bringing him into your houses. Yeah, like he's your friend as much as he's our friend today. And DJ Stavo is a DJ, as the name says. Is one of Africa's trailblazers in the entertainment scene, and he's an entertainment mogul. I mean, we'll get to know the rest about him today, which is the whole reason why we have this video with him. DJ Stavo, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hard to cry.
For the uninitiated, did you know that Zulu thing? Thank you so much.
I know where it's come from, but I'm not gonna say.
Anyway, so I see Mike is gonna have he's gonna have a back seat here. He doesn't want to say a thing. It's tough.
You gotta keep it. Listen, bro. I've known Stavo for forever. People have seen me interview Stavo. Stavo's a really awesome dude. I've had the luxury of meeting him when he came out here to the United States. It was really awesome. He pulled the crowd. Everybody turned up. I was like, yo, this guy is cool, man.
Can I tell you how I first got to know about Stavo? Backstory. I didn't want to say before we were doing our briefing before, yeah?
Stavo's like, oh God, please don't say anything bad.
No, it's nothing bad. I think he has very crazy street cred, and he may not know. So I'm not much of an entertainment person, but this day I'm talking to people, and people are like, the Zimbabwean entertainment scene as people, but some of these guys, you may not know them. That's way back, I think maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago. I'm like, who are you talking about? It's like, there's this guy, so he's a DJ, but Ndara, he's the most organized DJ in Zimbabwe. DJ Stavo will pull up with a red range today. DJ Stavo like a fleet of cars. And I'm like, who's this guy? Because we've understood that the music industry in Zimbabwe, it doesn't pay much, Yeah. And so people are like, no, guys. There is someone I know who's doing really amazing, who's doing really well, and that's DJ Stavo. That's how I got to know about him. And yeah, of course, then social media happened, and of course, I then also got to know a lot of your songs. And also, that's some of the things we didn't say in the introduction. He's also a recording artist, is it?
Right.
Yeah. So, who's DJ Stavo in your own words?
DJ Stavo is just a guy, really humble, down-to-earth family guy that really, really loves music, wants to be out there. And, DJ Stavo came about in a funny way. And the little way it started was I wanted to get Kwekwe on the map and get Kwekwe to be known in Harare. But then it started blowing up so much that Kwekwe was too small. Then Harare became too small. And then we started going into South Africa. Then South Africa became a little bit, I haven't broken into South Africa as I would like to. At the same time, I saw taking advantage of where I am going with my brand to start doing it and going global. Hence I worked with a lot of people that did my European tour. I've done an American tour just to spread the brand out, and it's an amazing thing how my little journey just started in a small city, and now it's just global, So, where DJ Stavo comes from and all that, it's an interesting journey, and I'm still doing it.
So Kwekwe is where you grew up?
Sorry?
So you come from Kwekwe?
Yeah, born and bred in Kwekwe.
Mike.
Stavo was the king of Kwekwe.
I would venture and call him the king of Zimbabwe. When he goes and says it started off as putting Kwekwe on the map and then it became Harare. The moment you say Harare, it's now Zimbabwe, right? And when you say South Africa, that's like the entertainment hub of Africa besides Nigeria. South Africa and Nigeria, you conquer South Africa, you've conquered, I mean, Africa as a whole.
Yeah.
So I would say DJ Stavo.
In a way, how it really started was actually like, it turned out I started off not worried about my brand. It was more about putting a city or another city on the map to say, look, there is music, there is development coming out of these towns, out of these cities, out of this country. But then the more I got so deep into it that I was like, I rather concentrate more. I was getting support more on a one-sided support of my brand than the tourism sector. So that's when I said, no, I got to concentrate more on my brand than actually going into like, you know, in other countries and everything, you understand, like you become brand ambassadors of certain things, you know, either a product or in tourism or something like that. But it just knows not kicking off the way I wanted it to go. So that's when I said, let me just strictly stick to DJ Stavo brand and get me out there, you know, and not really push my background.
Mm-hmm.
So Stavo, Glenn touched on a very important thing early on, which is how Zimbabwe is a very interesting thing when you talk about the entertainment sector, right? It's like there's no middle ground. You're either doing really well or you're not doing well at all.
Yeah.
You have worked with, I could argue, the best in Zimbabwe themselves, Gemma, Jah, Oliver, the late Oliver Mtukudzi, may his soul rest in peace.
Yeah.
How do you get to a stage and point where you break into that sector and you've become the best of the best, especially when you're coming from a place like Kwekwe? I mean, there's a lot of people in Harare already. There's a lot of people in Bulawayo that are trying to break into these places. I can only imagine the difficulties.
It will always go back to my hashtag, and which I've been pushing for years, and that's TTP.
Trust the process.
Trust the process. And it's my vision.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always said to myself that if I put my mind to it, I mean, you know, working with Tuku, I spent almost a year trying to convince him that we have to do something for the youth, you know, jump on a house track. It's never been done before, you know, take Jah and put him on a house track and say to him, look, it's out of your element. Just do something flashy with the cars and stuff like that.
You are the one who proposed the house track to Jah.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought it was just saying, I'm diversified. I can do this. Stavo, let's do this.
The secrets are coming out now.
No, what happened was that I think it was after the Tuku track. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think Jah saw how I was able to put Tuku on a house track. Mm-hmm. And he reached out to me and said, Dada, what can we do? I said, no, definitely, but I would not want to go down the roots of your stuff. I'd like your elements to come onto mine, mm-hmm. you know. And we just played around with the track and everything. Yeah. And that's how it worked out. And the same goes for Gemma. I wanted to, you know, she's having that soulful background and everything. I said to her, let's put you on a house track because your vocals are absolutely amazing, you know. And that's how I do my collaborations. My collaborations is, you know, it took a while for Zimbabwe to understand what I really do. I am into production, but at the same time, I do have people that work for me. And I come up with the concepts. I come up with the whole idea. I tell the artist exactly what I'm expecting from them. And I'm really strict in the studio if I go into the studio because it's my brand at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So, and I challenge myself and say, can I do this with this artist? And that's how I've managed to get the tracks that I have managed to get.
So before we forget like some of the elements you've raised here, I think there are two things. First of all, it seems like when you started, tourism was a very important part of your life. Maybe still is because you've mentioned that like a couple of times in this interview.
Yeah.
But then you then decided, let me push brand DJ Stavo.
Yeah.
But also, everyone you've worked with, even Roki, there's an amazing Roki track that I love that you did with Roki.
Yeah.
That was house again. So does that mean if anybody is ever going to collaborate with you, it's going to be house, and why house? So those two questions, tourism and house, why are those things central to Stavo?
Tourism has always been a factor for me because I think you guys are aware that for anybody to become known globally or to blow up to the next level, they have to go out of Zimbabwe.
Right.
You'll see recently a girl blew up. She blew up in South Africa because of her progression in South Africa. We have other people in America that are blowing up because of their connections within the American stuff, and they can go globally and get paid good monies. I have been fighting for years, more than 15 years, for the DJ Stavo brand and try and prove that Stavo can blow up and go worldwide from Zimbabwe. But
is it possible though?
I will say to you, no, it's not.
I would say that's a rhetorical because you are doing it.
It's okay. The thing is that you see it as I'm doing it, but it's not. How can I say?
As the Oma level is actual that Stavo should have been if he had gone out.
Yeah, because you get a lot of youth coming to us and saying, Stavo, please work with us because you've made it. I haven't made it. I'm always arguing with people. I have not made it. And people saying, but you have made it. You're known worldwide. What? But usually if you're known worldwide, the money factor comes into play because you would see my wealth reflect that I've made it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whereas from Zimbabwe, it's all been self-funded.
Okay.
I've had nothing that's come to say, this is where I've been pushing to say, get the tourism people to jump on board, put money towards something, get so-and-so to put money towards so-and-so, get those collaborations going, get an endorsement of a shoe company or a clothing or whatever, you know what I mean? Use that money to go out. I mean, if I say, for example, I want to do a collaboration with Nicki Minaj, I'm just going to look at my brand and say, okay, how big are you? But then at the same time, you'll see that the brand is quite big, but then do you have the money to go along with that? She must probably ask for 150,000 for 8 bars. We Zimbabweans can't afford 150,000 right now just to get one verse.
Right.
So those are the levels that I look at to say, okay, but we need sponsoring. We need someone infrastructure. I mean, I remember, I don't like to go too deep into it, but I remember in South Africa, there was certain funding that was put into a certain recording label that brought in Future, the Migos, DJ Khaled. They all came to South Africa through funding, not through someone's pocket. And that helped put tourism factor on the map and put out, there was 2 factors that they used for the country to go forward, and that was sports, where they invested into the World Cup rugby, and then also in the music scene. So, it's no secret that I wrote an open letter and I asked for funding and saying, look, we need funding. We need someone just to take this. The amount of talent that is in Zimbabwe is amazing.
True.
Right.
There's so much talent there. But we're losing all the talent because at the end of the day, the self-funded will always run out and then it's gone dead. And then what happens? There's no one that can do anything. I mean, if you go and do a gig in Harare or wherever it is, you'll be looking $50, $100, $200 if you're pushing. And then you go across the border and then you get $2,500 for an hour.
That's leading me to the next question, yeah? So you know all these things.
Yeah.
You know the shortfalls of doing your kind of work and the kind of the line of business that you do in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
But you're still adamant saying why?
I think I put a tweet out recently that I feel like as if I had the opportunity to go to South Africa and I messed it up. Because I did have that opportunity for my brand to go, but because of my arrogance and I just being arrogant and just being I don't know what the word is, wanting to prove that I can do it from home. I think that's where I messed up, and that's why I said any youth out there, if you get that opportunity, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I think my DJ Stavo and friends concert that I did in December was to show the levels of how much one individual can go in their home country, but at the same time, make a loss from it.
Which is what is going to lead me to my next question. That DJ and Stavo and Friends concert, we saw you bring the heavyweights from the African continent into Zimbabwe itself.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you also brought people within the country who are up and coming and who are doing really well.
Yeah.
Did you make money off that? And doing that, it's not easy to pull all those people together at one car.
I lost a lot of money. I did not make anything whatsoever out of that. And I was lucky enough to have some sponsors on board. But at the same time, it's a money-making thing. You can't do stuff for charity unless you have a certain company that's wanting to promote their brand. You know what I mean? So,
are you a patriot? Do you call yourself a patriot?
I am there now.
You know why I asked you this question?
It's like I'm currently slipping up.
let me tell you why I asked this question, Stavo. Because underlying, I don't know if you've ever thought of it that way, but you sound to me like you are. You could have left it in, and even the things that you have said you have done, I've wrote an open letter asking for this, and even the way that you understand the role that sports, that entertainment plays in developing a country and promoting a country's image globally, and you making efforts unilaterally, no one up push a Stavo. And you're not a politician, you're not obliged to do that.
No,
do it. Now, when I asked you why you didn't go to South Africa, you said I was arrogant. I wanted to prove I could make it in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think that's maybe underlying, but you just don't know.
I am, but why I'm saying this much now is because I feel like as if, has it been worth it for the 15 years, the 20 years?
Do you regret it?
It's a hard one.
Labor of love.
It's a hard one because you've only got this one life. And what I have achieved in Zimbabwe, no other DJ has achieved what I've achieved. And that there alone is a blessing. But in the same way, where my little bit of regret is that I reckon if I didn't hold myself back, I could have gone further than just Zimbabwe.
Right.
Being that whole patriotic and something, I could have, wanted to say, if I'd gone the whole DJ Stavo brand way and not be so patriotic about it, I could have been elsewhere.
Right.
And I actually had a tweet yesterday, and one guy said to me, he said, "Look, I really appreciate your tweets and everything, but I'll tell you one thing." And the funny thing is, Glenn mentioned it, and he said, the DJ Stavo and Roki song, if that track was released in another country, you would be elsewhere.
Sure.
And it's unfortunate about these things, but at the same time, it's the love of the game.
Right.
I love being a DJ. I love music, and I believe, I think what I have achieved, it's been a blessing, but I wouldn't regret it, and I would regret it. There's the ups and downs.
Which comes to you've touched on the music side, but let's touch a little on the business side. I think we can all agree here that Zimbabwe is not the best place to put your money in, and expect to make money back easily. It comes with a pull and a tug and pull situation. And so, what is it like having to continuously try to figure this thing out, especially as an artist? I can only imagine businesses, but artists is a whole different game.
It's draining in the sense that you're putting money out, like what you said, and it's not coming back.
Kind of like pouring money down a hole.
Exactly. And I took a gamble to say one day it will come back. You're investing in your own product, your own brand, your own beliefs. But look, it's decisions that we've made, and it's been worth it on the decisions, but at the same time, you know, I believe that, you know, if the country was in a better situation, like what you were saying, is that I reckon a lot of brands would jump on board.
Right.
You feel like you're running out of time? Because I cannot help but sense that I love what I've done. You know, you've mentioned words like it's one world, one life, you know, and some of the things you're speaking of them in the past, like we have. One cannot help but sense that. Do you feel like you're running out of time?
I'm 41. Yes, I am.
I mean, I can. So I don't want to use the word regret because I can still sense your passion for the love of the game. That's your word.
Yeah.
What would be your biggest regret, Stavo? Even though regret may not be the word, maybe what would you do differently if you'd go back maybe to young 30-year-old Stavo?
Not signing that contract I was supposed to sign.
You would sign it now.
Yeah, definitely. I had this whole almost know-it-all kind of attitude, whereas why would one want to make money off me when I can make money for myself because I know the ropes? So why sign for somebody if I can do this? But now, truly understanding the whole game, we sign for those people as a plug.
Do you know the funny thing? So you and I have never had a conversation like before we did this, but this is why I love this this show, because it takes people out of the businessy side, you know, and you know, and we talk. And right now, listening to you, I'm reflecting on my own choices, on my own decisions, and saying, freaking 41. I'm 31. But freaking 41. Would I not regret? Because like you, I mean, I've had opportunities to stay outside the country. I've stayed in China for like 3 years. I'm now here in the UK, and I still have that love and passion for Zimbabwe. Like, I feel like I am one of the people that can do something about the situation back home. But listening to you, I can tell the wisdom of time, you know. And another question I wanted to ask you was, maybe even being a patriot for you, do you feel like you could have done more for Zimbabwe had you done that from outside Zimbabwe?
I think so. There was an actual time, and a lot of my fans would agree, because there was a bit of time, I'd say maybe 5 years ago, there was this little debate that was going on, and a lot of people thought that I was South African. They didn't know I was Zimbabwean. And there was this whole thing where the management that I had at that time saw me breaking out and going with the big guns, and they were like, whatever you do, because of the xenophobia and everything that's going on, do not mention you're from Zimbabwe.
Yep.
And I was like, but guys, it's where I'm from. People will eventually find out and everything. And I was like, you know what? Stuff you, you know. So I don't know. It's one of those things.
It's funny you mentioned it because I've actually walked the same path before, where people urge you, like, do not, whatever happens, do not mention. Just keep it pushing and keep it up. So now here's the thing. I think we can both agree that you've taken the patriotic route over the bag. And so you're in this position now. Stavo's 41. How do you push the hustle moving forward to ensure that, you know, because you've learned your lessons already. Is it now a case of, if I get the opportunity to bounce, I'm leaving? Or is it now, I've learned the game, let me figure out how to maneuver from here?
I'm in two worlds. The funny thing is that the whole TTP thing happens. And I actually wanted to retire. And DJ Stavo and Friends was my goodbye.
Right.
But I've had time to relax because of the lockdown.
COVID.
And, you know, it's made me really think about something. And I really want to almost rebrand myself and have one more go. But target a new market that I think a Zimbabwean has never tried.
And what market is that?
Well, there could be a Zimbabwean that's targeted it, but I don't know. It's just me as my personal thing, and I think I had very good successful meetings in the States when I was over on tour in April when we met, and I did have very successful meetings with people in Europe, and the whole Afro house scene is really blowing up.
Right.
And the UK, it's the Afro house scene is going along. In America, it's still got a way to go, but Afro beats is more the in thing than the Afro house. But I mean, I played in downtown New York in a hip hop club, and I played gqom, and people went crazy. So that's music. That's the language there. I want to target, instead of targeting the African continent, I want to try and try the European American market, you know, and take advantage of the whole social media, because that's your business card at the moment.
Right.
And I believe that with the music and that I have, I mean, there's people that have heard my music in the UK that have never heard that type of sound before.
Right.
And I would like to try and invest my brand into the European market. That's my thing. Try that one more time. I mean, like Glenn said, my time is running out.
I still don't think so. I just, it's a sense I got. But Stavo, I mean, obviously, between me and Mike knows you, so he's not trying to psychoanalyze you like I am. Me, I'm just a fan that got a chance to talk to you now. So I'm looking at you and looking at your model, not just your music, but even the whole TTP, the way you sound right now, the way you run your other not so music work, and the way you collaborate with people.
Yeah.
And I can tell there is a very striking resemblance in your model of life generally with DJ Khaled. Like, the only thing is you haven't written a book.
We're the best.
You know, but for me, I feel there is that. Who has been your icons in this industry from the beginning? Like, you can take us on a journey on, this is the people that inspired me to get into it. Now, if I could get to this level, that's the pinnacle for me.
The funny thing is everyone that's I've really been inspired by, I've worked with them.
Oh.
And this is where, you know, there's a lot of behind the scenes where I've met people. It's all through my passion. And, you know, I'm blessed in a way, but, you know, I still feel like as if I should have started earlier. I don't know. Maybe time will tell. Trust the process, you know, the whole thing. But when you say, you know, idols and people that I look up to in the industry and all that, I mean, when I first started, I said, I used to play in Calcutta when I was in the club scene, and Mandoza was like,
I love that song.
You know, next thing, I'm working with him, and that was my first international video that I recorded was with Mandoza. You know, and just working with him, being in the studio with him, and, you know, I see that whole celeb life kind of stuff, and, you know, people are really down to earth. They're not that celeb life, you know, when you meet them one-to-one. When I was with Tuku, we were laughing in the studio, and I was like, I'm Dara, what, Sadaro, do another thing, what, you know. And he was like, but Stavo, you know, the way you think, you know, this is, you know, those collaborations, I mean, they're me persuading myself as a brand to say, I really want to work with this person. What can we do with this person? That he's an idol that I look up to, and it's worked for me. You know, I mean, yes, I mean, maybe DJ Khaled will become, like what you said, is someone down the lines, because he's always had that same resemblance of what I'm doing, and people will always compare me as the African Khaled. You know. But at the same time, I like to not associate myself, because I believe I'm my own brand.
Right.
You know, so sometimes I do look up to myself, if that's not being selfish.
No, actually a really good thing. It's a good thing.
You know, and I'm proud of my achievements. I mean, what I have done, and you know, and what I have said is that nothing is impossible if you put your mind to it. But then money always talks. Nothing is impossible.
So here's
Besides money, Stavo, what are the other counters? Because if it's awards, I think you have them. If it's hits, you've got them. If it's working with great people that
It's not the awards that I wanted, though. You see that's the thing is that when that's when I say, when you say that you have the awards or whatever, don't forget, me as a person, I have my own targets,
right.
You know, and that's when you say is that I don't have time to start bringing somebody else up because I believe I haven't achieved what I want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I was very close to 2 nominations. I do know because they did contact me. But my background is the one that hurt me on those nominations. So, you know, at the same time...
Zimbabwe is what hurt you?
In a way.
How?
Well, that was back, like when they said don't mention.
Oh, they did tell you stuff, but don't mention it.
They said don't mention it, but, you know... But anyway, I'm okay with it. You know, I've really achieved a lot. I mean, I've worked with people that, you know, people have... I'm friends with a lot of people. I mean, it's I don't know. I also just want to be open to everyone and show that I'm just a regular guy, down to earth, and I don't want to call myself a celebrity. I'm just a very well-known person that is very out there, outgoing, and I'm open about anything about the business, anything about, you know, just so that I can teach people. I think that's another way I'm looking at my life right now, to say the mistakes that I've learned, I'm trying to pass that information on to the younger generation, and so that they don't fall into the same trap. They don't, you know, make the same mistakes. And, you know, that's just me passing my knowledge. I mean, there was a question that you asked earlier, Glenn, about, you know, does someone have to collaborate? When they're collaborating with me, do they have to do a house? And the answer would be no, because if you have a look at Andy Muridzo, I did a track with him. It wasn't a house track. It was more of a Afrobeats kind of vibe.
Right.
And then if you have a look at ASAPH, the hip-hop artist from Bulawayo, I actually did a hip-hop beat with that. So it's just me venturing out. I'm very versatile. I don't want to be... Yes, I've been known as the house DJ most of my career, but that's me testing waters and seeing my ability and testing myself to say, look, how far as a brand can you push yourself?
Yeah.
You know?
I want to challenge that, what you do a Zim dancehall track. It's like Simpsons.
Stavo, what's been the highlight? Not only the highlight, but, you know, your music comes with the lights. And let me not be, for this time I will not be, I've been too formal today, but your industry comes with the lights, the cameras, the action, the jumping from hotel room to another, the girls, the drugs. Take us through that journey. Like, even some of the mistakes you want to tell us about, your fun moments and stuff like that.
I must say, I think we'll go back to almost 5 years ago or so. And it was, I went on tour in South Africa from October till January.
Mm-hmm.
And I was jumping on one plane to another plane and going from one gig to another gig. And it was hectic. Mm-hmm. If I could sleep in the car, I would sleep in the car. If I could sleep on the plane, I would tell the hostess, please, no food for me. I just need to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the only time we would be sleeping, was on the plane, because we would land and then we've got a 2-hour drive to the next place. We go for sound check. We're doing all this. We go through press interviews and everything. And you've got to be wide awake. But luckily, one thing I am really happy about is that I did stay away from drugs. I have seen a lot of a lot of people using drugs and everything. I am an alcohol person, I will admit.
Yes.
But I can control myself, and I enjoy my beers, I enjoy my whiskeys, my cognacs, you know. But that there was a really hectic time. Even when I was on tour in America, that was even hectic.
That's what I was about to ask. I was about to say, is it more hectic? Because I remember trying to get a hold of you.
Yeah.
Every single time I'd hit them up, they'd be like, listen, from here, he's going to there, from there, he's going to there. And I'd be like, so guys, when am I going to sit down and talk to this guy?
Exactly.
And it was like super difficult to get a hold of you. So yeah.
And it's just one of those things. I mean, I really enjoyed the whole touring life and doing that. The only thing that was really hard, and that was being away from family. That's one of the downsides about it. But you know, my wife and I, we have an understanding, and you know, she understands that, you know, it's brand building, it's the bag that we're going after. You know,
Right.
We've got to work, so that's all has to be possible. And if you have a family and a wife that supports you, then you know that helps. But still, even though she's supporting, it's really hard being away from family.
Yeah.
So I would say no regrets whatsoever.
Which comes to my thought, you just highlighted one thing, and that's, as an artist, majority of money comes from touring and performances and so forth, not from the actual music.
No.
Here comes COVID. It seems to have locked a lot of people down. How is Stavo making his money now?
Hey, we've got
Still
side
gotta make
hustles.
it back, bro.
We've got side hustles going on.
Typical for Zimbabwe to say that, but like, I got side hustles. Don't worry about me.
Don't worry about me. I got side hustles. We do anything with that. No, you know, the thing is that, you know, when you're saying that most of the money is made from touring and all that, yeah, it is. But nowadays, you know, money can also be made on the internet, and there's a lot of ways. You know, you're able to sell your music and everything.
Right.
As a Zimbabwean, we would never know these things because we don't have the support where people can purchase, because of the situation, cannot purchase online.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have South Africans that, you know, like, say, for example, Metro Award, you get for winning a Metro Award, you get 100,000 rand.
Is that a lot though?
$10,000 basically, back in the day when I was okay. So say, for example, you get one award. Say, for example, you get 2 awards, it's 20,000, you know, and so on. Besides the awards kind of stuff,
let's put this into perspective, Mike. It's a lot, because I don't wanna bring people's brands into this conversation. But you know, the live videos that we've been having, some of the artists are talking about being paid 4K, and that's probably the highlight of their career ever for a show.
Yeah, but Glenn, I don't see that as a lot of money. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, when you put that into context and what it does for you, you know, like if you put it into context in Zimbabwe, and this goes back to what Stavo was saying about, you know, the way the industry is set up and the people that fund and support, the sponsors and all that.
So sorry, Glenn. I just wanted to, before Mike was saying, was that you're saying it's not a lot of money, okay? But my point that I wanted to put out was, it's a step, like what Glenn was saying, it's more than Zimbabwe.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So my point being is that I have always believed, and I still think it is, and I do know it is, because I've done my research and everything, but that side hustle that you're talking about selling tracks and streaming and everything, is, my research has showed me the downsides of one country to another country. And that is, it's a numbers game.
Right.
If, say, for example, you get, your YouTube account is registered UK or America, and you get 1 million views, you'll get roughly around about between $4,000 and $7,000 for that million. That same million views that you get if your account is registered in Africa will maybe get about $400, $300. Okay?
What?
Yeah, that's my research that I've come up with.
Yeah, but maybe it makes sense because people who advertise in USA have more value from what they get with the adverts.
Okay, so why is that? Because that's the target market.
Exactly.
That's a numbers game.
Right.
So we only have a population of 15 million. South Africa has what? 58 million?
Yeah.
Okay. Nigeria has 150 million.
Isn't it over
or 200 million or whatever. So say, for example, you're on Instagram and you have 100,000 followers in Zimbabwe. That there is a big wow.
But in the, yeah.
Right? But in Nigeria,
like
any normal person can have
like
an account.
100K. Right.
100K.
Right.
If you're a celeb, you would hit the 2-3 millions easy. Right. So when you're selling music online and you have a person that's buying your song at $1 and you have 1 million people purchase that out of the 158 million, you're making $1 million on one track.
Right.
Now, the majority of people that buy music in your country is maybe less than 100.
That's what I was about to ask. Are people still buying music?
I do.
There's not a lot of people that buy it.
No, not buy exactly, but I pay to streaming services that then pay to the artists.
That's not the same though. It's not buying the music. You're streaming it.
Yeah,
don't get the same amount of money.
I've never seen the need to stream, to buy anyway, because of the way Apple has set up all these things, right?
That's why I'm asking, because what I think in the model, and Stavo, correct me if I'm wrong, but the model you're talking about people buying the actual music. So it's like, when they put it up and they say, to buy the song, pay $199. You're paying the $199. Unlike just going to Apple Music and saying, I pay $20 every month, and you stream it. That's different.
At the same time, I don't want to go against you, Mike, but exactly what you're saying is very true. You're not purchasing, you're streaming. You're borrowing the track, but you don't have it, right?
Right.
But at the same time, there's a structure that you're still getting paid from it. Okay. So if you're getting 1 billion streams a month,
right,
it's still something where they're not having it for free.
Right. Okay.
There's still a difference that you're still getting paid.
Right.
So the same thing as in YouTube, you get paid through YouTube streams, you get paid for selling music. South Africa, you have over 350 radio stations. So if you have a track that's playing in South Africa and it's in the top 10 or it's on high rotation and you're getting R4 a spin or whatever it is, and you have 350 radio stations playing it every day, end of the month, you got a good bag.
Yeah.
Right? Same as TV stations. You're looking at what, 10 Rand, maybe 400 Rand. I don't know what it is. For every 4 minutes that's played on MTV. So you have MTV, you have Channel O, you have Trace Urban. And if you have a high quality video on high rotation on the bank, you're getting paid. Right? We go back home, we don't have the radio stations. None of them are paying. If they do, I remember having a conversation with one of the top artists just to make sure everything's clear, but not to mention names. But he had a hit song, and it was played every 30 minutes on radio.
No bag.
And the bag was there, but a tiny bag.
Okay.
You can imagine winning the song of the year, getting 5 awards or anything like that, and your music rights or whatever give you back and say, here's $4,000 for playing your song. You're like, $4,000, but my video cost me $8,000.
That's all, yeah, like it costs you more than you got back from the
So it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game.
With all this information and all this experience and all this touring and the business mind that you have, would you consider being one of the people restructuring the music industry in Zimbabwe? Do you think it's possible that one person?
I've put my hand up so many times.
And it's been slapped down. It's a
Right. You know what? I think I'm just checking the time right now. We've gone like probably 40 minutes, is it?
Okay.
Yeah, and then I think what people want to know, besides music, what else makes Stavo? Unodya sadza here, unodya rice rendovi here, unodya lasagna here, unodya.
I must have my suds at least once a week. That's a must. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's saying it's a must.
You are not going to be gay.
No.
It's like, no.
No, my wife helps me out in it.
I don't blame you. I only learned how to make salsa a few weeks ago.
You guys are both bad. I don't know how to cook salsa.
But now what I do is, because I love my alcohol, I can, like you say, I know how to control that, right? Almost every weekend I try and have like a salsa with my bones or a meal. And
exactly,
down with a whiskey,
See, I didn't want to go down that route, but okay, yeah. This is the reason why I have to have it once a week. No, it's one of those meals that it's a homely meal. So you feel that comfort food once a week and everything, and then the funny thing is I like my lasagnas, I like my pastas, I like my salads. I wasn't a fish person, but I'm trying to get that into my diet now. So it's I love spending time with my family when I can. I am a family man. I support my son. You guys need to check him out on Fortnite. He's going to be one of the big guys very soon.
Okay.
I'm investing in my son. Going to get my money back to that.
I'm curious.
And you make sure when that contract comes on, you're like, son, now? Maybe. Son, I will sign this for you.
I'm curious about one thing, Stavo. I've spoken to a lot of people. I remember when I put out the interview I did with you, and people were like, "When was your Stavo?" I'm like, "Yeah." A lot of people refer to you as one thing, DJ Wabantu. Like Stavo is the DJ for the people. Is it important as an artist to be a representation of the people that I guess buy your music? Because you see some people diversify and they're all over the place, and at times they don't speak about the challenges that people face. You are the people that people are like, Stavo Muna no Chimiri. How important is that to you?
I think it is important, because if anybody knows my background, is that I've been in the hospitality industry most of my life. 35 years I was in the hotel industry, and we've always, my parents have always brought me up to respect the customer and to be a people's person, because people that are buying your product, at the end of the day, you've got to be nice to them. I mean, it's like if you go into a restaurant and you get a shit service, you're not going to go back.
Right.
And it's the same thing with me. I'm just being me. I'm trying to, show people that I'm a human being at the end of the day. And there's a little bit of an extra is that I can produce music. I have hits, So yeah, I am a people's person. I love interacting with people. But I am one person is that if you do not see my side of the story, you are a bye-bye. I don't waste time. I don't even waste time. I don't hesitate to block.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see your Twitter now. How many people cut that block?
Now that you mention his Twitter, that's like literally the next question I was going to ask him. I was going to say, Stavo, and this is not a reflection on your character or anything. Yeah,
he's like, what up?
It's just about how you use Twitter. If all the DJs or musicians in Zimbabwe had to pick a presidential alter ego. Like, of all the presidents in the world.
That man over there.
My network is breaking up.
That's my network. I can't hear you guys.
So if you had to pick a presidential alter ego, bro, you use Twitter like Trump.
He speaks his mind, bro.
I don't mean, like I said, it's not like the character. No, I don't want to customize there. But bro, I am on Twitter. I see Stavo.
I'm an inspiration.
Stavo come with a funny tweet about Mosayako can sell games because you could watch Shakara and you go there 1,000 like, who is this guy?
But the responses will be, you know, the best thing sometimes that I do whenever I see Stavo put out a tweet, I'll look at the tweet. I'm like, okay, but it's the responses that kill me.
And you know the funny part, he doesn't waste his time with graphics and all that. No.
I don't want to use the
text. And all of his tweets are like classic Twitter, vintage Twitter. Your 160 characters, done. But that's
I'm done. See you next time.
No, that just puts across to everyone that who I am. You know what I mean? I'm just a regular guy, and I'm just enjoying myself. I mean, trust me, if I want to talk shit, I'll talk shit. If I want to be nice about it, I'll be nice about it. At the end of the day, that's just me. I mean, if I'm not happy, I'm not happy. If you're happy, you're happy.
I am curious though. I'll give you an example. I always say this to people. If you ask 5 different people about who Mike is, they'll give you a different response.
Yeah.
Is this the same thing for a person like Stavo? I don't think the Stavo family man is the same Stavo we see on Twitter as the same Stavo we see on tour, is it?
The funny thing is that I think I've passed that stage of calling them haters. I don't call them, I think they're people that are inspired, but they're inspired by what I do, but they just can't get close.
Why?
You know, because there's other people that are blocking them.
Okay.
Right. So what happens is that this is what's happened. True stories. I can tell you it's happened more than 20 times. Mm-hmm. I've had people that have called me out names and said that, you know, you're the shittest DJ on earth. You can't even mix to save your life. You can't do this. You can't do that. And then a year down the line, we'll be drinking the club. And I'm like, my man, come here. Forget about what you said. Here's a bottle. You know, let's drink. And
let's drink.
Mm-hmm. You're such a cool guy. I never knew you were like this. I'm like, so why were you calling me out? You know?
You didn't even know me when you said that.
You don't even know me, you know? And I've had a lot of people that have had wars with me. And then all of a sudden we click, and he's like, you know, the funny thing is that a lot of people talk bad about me because they'll be blocking people to see the real side of me.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I'm just one person enjoys. I don't like it. If you spend a day with me, you will see that I'll never talk bad about anybody. It's only positive.
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
And I don't look down upon anyone because everyone makes their own mistakes in life. And I'm not going to judge anybody on their mistakes because I don't know their journey. So I expect the same thing to people to respect me, to say, okay, he's having fun, he's calling out, he's doing this, he's doing that. But at the same time, he's just being him. And that's where I'm finding social media is helping us people connect with people that don't walk into your house every day and really try and feel your vibe. Because you don't want all 50,000 people on Twitter in your house.
God, please, they got to say that about
But Stavo, this is the other thing now. So when someone listens to this video, they'll be like, do you want to run into the Stavo? You are cool, you're grounded, you're chilled. But your tweets would make it seem like, like you can tell from the way I talked, energy.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with that like on a weekly basis if you're at the peak of touring, and probably on more than once. You are surrounded with spaces where you have to. Do you ever feel like you have to be someone you're not to match what people expect of you. Like, for example, you know, notch up your energy a lot, become more extroverted. Because when I look at you now and when I hear how you measure every word you say, you sound to me like you're actually probably an introvert, or maybe, you know, close to that.
I must say, I do like my little bit of quiet times where I just want to switch off from everything and just reflect quietly.
Mm-hmm.
But to change energy or anything like that, I'll always be me. I don't. I remember my very first interview that I ever did on Star FM with Tish Mataz, and I was shitting myself. I didn't know what to say, and I knew people would ask me questions, and you know, what do I do? How do I answer? They'll put me on the spot and ask me questions. And then I just got to the point where I was like, just be you. You know, if someone asks you on the spot, if you're on TV or on radio, and they say, look, we want to talk to you about this, it will be embarrassing for them because I don't want to talk about it. I'll tell them straight up, let's move on to the next subject. I don't want to talk about it. If you've got a problem with that, then just finish the interview, because it's not something that I want to talk about. So I've had questions thrown at me where I've just said, look, whatever it is, and there are situations where if I'm not happy about something in the music industry or whatever it is, and I have an interview, I'll call that person out in my interview because that's the vibe that they gave me. I'm not going to hide it because I'm a public figure and the public mustn't know about it, because if it wasn't for the public, I wouldn't be who I am today. So they have every right to know. I put my life out there to share my story with the public. So I believe if you pissed me off at that time and I call you out, tough. Wrong timing.
Okay. Glenn, I don't know how we looking on time.
Let's just give it 5 more minutes and we round it off.
Right, cool. So as we're about to wind up here, Stavo, you've worked with the greatest of the greatest. You've done a lot as not just as an artist, as an entrepreneur with the events and so forth. What's the next move for Stavo?
Definitely, I'm working on a few tracks. I am wanting to come back this year, hopefully with a nice big hit. But at the same time, my first track that I'm going to release this year.
International or local? That's what I want to know.
The thing is that it's a kind of a funny one because I'm not going to feature any artist.
How are you going to do that one? This is intriguing.
Interesting.
I want this solely to be a DJ Stavo track, no featuring.
So you're going to be rapping, or is it just what's the concept here?
Let's wait and see.
I knew that.
I'm curious about this one. Okay.
Yeah, so it's something that I've wanted to do most of my career, but you know, me being a DJ, I've had to feature people and all that. But I really want to do a track that is solely DJ Stavo. And also at the same time, try and venture into a new market. And hopefully my fans will, you know, respect that, you know, I have to hustle in a different avenue. And it's not like as if I'm leaving my fans. I want the fans to come with me on my journey. That's what I want them to do. I want them to see how I've grown and where I'm going, and to show that, okay, he's stepping up, he's trying this, he's trying that, you know. And I just want to try and rebrand myself this year. I think it's kind of a hard one because with COVID and all that, with the lockdowns, we can't go and promote a track like how we used to back in the day with gigs and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I'm going to be doing a lot of social media, and try and, I think one thing that I have lacked in my whole career is I won't say lacked, but I would say everything I've done has been self-taught. So I would like to get some studies under my belt as well about the music industry and stuff like that. since I have the time with this lockdown. So you know what they're saying is that, you know, if you haven't learned anything in this lockdown, you've really wasted your time.
Yep.
So,
yeah. When exactly did you start music, Stavo? At a professional level, maybe.
I would say my first interest was 2010, I think.
Right. So if you would speak to young...
So 2012, I would say, was more serious.
So if you would speak to young Stavo in 2012, 2010, today, what is the one, you know, immortalized sentence or paragraph that you would send to him from here, from the future?
Besides sign the contract.
Besides
that is that sometimes take people's advice that are close to you. When you're young, you know, it's funny because, you know, when you're growing up, you have your parents that are by your side, and they're like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, because I've been through this and I know the outcome. And you're like, no, but it's different. It's different. I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
I see my son and my daughter doing the same thing, and I'm saying to them, don't do this, because it's happened to me and I don't want them to get hurt, and I'm protecting them. I wish I'd listened earlier. And not being that hard-headed person to say, I can do this, you know. But at the same time, it's kind of weird because, you know, that whole statement of being that whole, that single sheep that leaves the flock and everything to be in their own direction. You don't have to be following the sheep in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
If someone doesn't be hard-headed and want to try something, you never know. It's kind of weird. It's one of those hard situations. But now, reflecting exactly on your question, I would say for me, myself, in the music career, I would have said, listen to the advice of those people that were in the music career way on before you. And this is why I'm passing on messages and inspirational tweets that I do and stuff like that, to put my experience across, to say, look, you can try, but at least I've given you a heads up. This is what to expect.
Yeah. Mike, I'm going to ask you to ask your last question. Then I do the usual 5 question blitz with Stavo, and we close it off.
All right, man. Stavo, as we wrap up here, we've touched on a lot about your musical journey. I know personally a lot of people that follow your career. What words would you have for everybody that's following you, especially whilst you're going through this phase of rebranding?
Look, my fans have been awesome. I mean, very supportive and all that, you know. And I just like to thank them for joining me on the journey. I've got quite a new fans that have joined for other reasons, but haven't really had that full experience of the music.
Coming from inspiration.
Yeah, coming from the inspiration side of it. But at the same time, you know, I just want them to join me on my journey and just carry on and, you know, enjoy the journey with me, you know, and support me along the way, you know. And if you can purchase my music to support, I've always had that option. Look, here's a free song, but I am also on iTunes and Spotify and whatever. If you do really think that I'm worth it, go ahead and purchase. You know, that's how I take the industry at the moment.
All right, Glenn, one last question to Stavo. You touched on the iTunes, right?
Yeah.
And the streaming platforms. As a Zimbabwean in the diaspora, there's one thing that really frustrates me. When I want to listen to music from people from Zimbabwe, especially when they put up new music, 99.99% of the time it's available only on like YouTube or something.
Right.
What is the difficulty behind Zimbabwean artists putting their music out on platforms like iTunes, Spotify, and so forth?
My experience that I've had is that usually you'd have to go through a third party.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the third parties really mess up the artists.
Okay.
At the same time, I do mine solely by myself. Mm-hmm. So I see all the rewards myself. but it really depends now on my agreement with the artist that I've collaborated with.
Right.
So there would be some songs that would be missing, and that is because I haven't come up to an agreement with the artist that I've collaborated on.
Yeah.
Just depending on the contract that we have. But then at the same time, I do know a lot of people have been hurt by third-party people where they've had full access to their music, YouTube accounts, iTunes accounts, and back in Zim, they're not seeing that money. You know,
you should make TTP a label, bro.
Thinking about it.
All right, Glenn, the platform's all yours, bro.
All right. What's your favorite car?
Range Rover Sport.
Favorite food?
Sadza and my bones.
The most embarrassing thing you've ever done?
Told everyone to put their hands up in the club and they just looked at me.
Explain music to someone who's never had it. People who have hearing impairments. If you could write what music is to them.
It's a message, it's a journey of that individual.
What does God mean to you?
Believing in Him, that He has a plan for you, and trust the process.
If you could choose one season between winter and summer, but you live in it perpetually, it would be?
Winter.
Final, what is love?
Because what would that bury that
No,
like,
because
you know the funny thing is we had Camera on our pilot show, right? A question. He took time again.
no, you know why I said because love it's having that partner that is on the same wavelength, and you both have that whole same goal and support for each other. And I find that, you know, it's that whole thing about you can't live without that person by your side. That's how I take what love is. You know, I would definitely be lost with my day-to-day runnings if my wife wasn't beside me, you know, and I must probably, you know, be a mess. So you always have to have that partner that's always beside you to, you know, that means a lot to you and you mean a lot to them as well. So
Mike and I should get married. Anyways. Oh, for the avoidance of doubt, I'm just saying Mike go get married, Glenn go get married. But you know what, Stavo, it's been a pleasure having you here.
Well, thanks, guys. I really enjoyed it. I wish you could do this every weekend. I enjoyed it.
I would love that. I mean, just to learn from you. And I'll say this personally, not because you're on the show, but I mean, you really speak a lot of wisdom, things that are useful to me personally, because I'm a young person that has had opportunity, you know, to choose between staying in Zimbabwe, leaving, and all these practical decisions that people have to make on a day-to-day basis, talented people. And I've learned from you, because one of the things I've always thought is my talent. You can't take it away. I'll always be that.
Yeah.
You know, but this has been very insightful. It's been great wisdom. I opened the show. I'm going to ask my colleague to close it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we had DJ Stavo. Appreciate you, Stavo. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, as long as people take something away from it, I believe that I've done my job. So.
That's awesome, man. It's always fun chatting with you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was DJ Stavo. I go by the name of Mike Hore. Remember, trust the process. You're tuned into Real Talk with Glenn and Mike. Peace out.
Waking up and get the money, man.